Billionaire discovers twin girls. 8. Alone with suitcases in park, their incredible life-changing journey begins. On a brisk autumn afternoon, Jack Thompson, a 42-year-old billionaire entrepreneur, strolled through Central Park in his tailored suit. With the city sprawling at his feet and his empire thriving, he looked every bit the part of success. Yet, amidst the golden leaves and laughter of children, his heart felt heavy, an echo of a childhood lost in silence. Business deals and high-stakes investments provided him with everything money could buy. Yet as he passed joggers and couples, he couldn't shake the feeling that something vital was missing. That S when he spotted them. Two small figures huddled on a bench, surrounded by tattered suitcases, twin girls, no more than 8 years old. Emma and Lily's eyes were wide, filled with a mix of fear and hope. The park around them bustled with life, yet they seemed cocooned in their own world of chaos. Jack felt a tug at his heart, something he thought was long calloused. These girls, so fragile and alone in a city that never stops, pulled him from his curated existence into a moment of stark reality. "Hey there," he said, crouching so he could meet their gaze. "Are you okay?" A wave of warmth washed over him as Lily took a step closer, her eyes shimmering with uncertainty. Willing himself to connect, Jack reached into his pocket, pulling out a crumpled $20 bill, an attempt to help. But Emma shook her head fiercely. "We don't need money," she whispered, her voice barely audible, full of fierce defiance and suffering. In that moment, Jack understood it wasn't cash they were hungry for. Driven by something deeper than business acumen, Jack decided to take them in. He envisioned lavish birthday parties, art classes, and everything money could buy. But in his eagerness to fix their lives, he overlooked the emotional wounds etched into their small frames. The first time he introduced them to a fancy restaurant, he felt proud. They stared in awe, yet when the plate of gourmet food arrived, their eyes betrayed discomfort. Jack sensed a disconnect. His management skills were failing him. The girls didn't want riches. They craved a family, a sense of belonging. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Jack began to grasp the enormity of their need, a threatening message from the girls' past shook him to the core, bringing the shadows of their hardship back into the light. Whispers of danger danced through the air, sending chills down Jack's spine. Suddenly, the lavish world he constructed seemed flimsy, as vulnerable as the girls sitting before him. He was faced with a choice. Could he truly buy acceptance, or should he invest his heart alongside his wallet? As Emma clutched Lily's hand tightly, fear written all over her face, Jack felt the walls around his heart shift ever so slightly. He stood on the brink of a breakthrough, a realization dawning like the morning sun. Just as he leaned in to comfort them, Emma whispered, "You can't fix what you don't understand." The weight of her words hung in the air, challenging him to reshape the very foundation of their lives. The tug of his own heart echoed louder than his cravings for control. Would he finally learn to connect, or would they remain lost, yearning for the safety of a home? Jack spent the next few days trying to understand Emma and Lily's world. He watched them as they navigated their new environment, their small hands clutching each other as they stepped into his lavish apartment. It was a stark contrast to the grimy world they'd come from: marble floors, expansive windows overlooking the skyline, and a kitchen stocked with gourmet ingredients. Yet beneath the glittering surface, he sensed their unease. One afternoon, while they sat together on the plush couch, Jack tried to break the ice. "Do you want to watch a movie?" he asked, scanning the vast array of films displayed on the wall-mounted screen. Lily nodded eagerly, her cheeks flushing with a hint of excitement. But Emma remained silent, her gaze fixed on the floor. Jack tried to recall a childhood movie that might resonate with them, something sweet and heartwarming. After some deliberation, He settled on a classic animated film, one filled with adventure and friendship. As the film played, Jack stole glances at the girls. Lily was fully absorbed, her wide eyes lighting up with every explosion and musical number. But Emma barely moved. He felt a pang of regret at the back of his mind. Maybe this isn't what they need, he thought. That night, after the movie ended, he approached Emma while she was brushing her hair in front of the mirror. "Hey Emma, you seemed less into it than Lily. Was it not fun?" he asked gently, hoping to encourage her to open up. She glanced at him, her small face filled with a maturity far beyond her years. "It was okay," she replied, carefully choosing her words. "But it's not real." "What do you mean?" "It's just a story, and it isn't what we understand. We want something real." Her voice trembled slightly, but the determination in her eyes held Jack in place. Jack's chest tightened as he processed her words. Was it too late to build something real with them? Could he really give them a home? He felt more determined than ever to earn their trust, even if it meant stepping into their world instead of expecting them to embrace his. The next day, Jack awoke, a plan forming in his mind. He spotted the girls in the living room, absorbed in a tattered picture book he had found among their belongings. He took a deep breath and put on a brave face. "How about we go out today?" Emma looked up, her expression a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Where?" "To the park where we first met," Jack replied, feeling his heart flutter. Lily's eyes sparkled. "Can we bring a picnic?" "That is a great idea," Jack said, feeling his own excitement build. "Let us make sandwiches and pack snacks. We'll have our own little adventure." As they prepared for the outing, Jack cherished the fleeting moments of laughter as they each seemed to lighten up just a bit. He was starting to see the cracks in their walls, and inside that fragile exterior lay two vibrant souls bursting to express themselves. Once they arrived at the park, Jack laid out a blanket on the grass. The golden leaves surrounded them, and for the first time, Jack noticed that Emma was smiling. They munched on sandwiches while Lily regaled them with tales from their picture book, her voice animated as she brought the characters to life. Emma watched her sister, her laughter tinkling like wind chimes in the breeze. But as they settled into the day, Jack felt a looming unease again. He could sense a pair of eyes watching them from across the park. He turned slightly but saw no one suspicious. Was it just his imagination, or was someone keeping tabs on the girls? Emma's laughter faded as she leaned closer. "Jack, do you think we'll ever be safe here?" The question lingered in the air, heavy with the weight of the past and uncertainty about the future. Jack looked at her, feeling a tight knot in his stomach. "I promise, I will do everything to keep you safe," he assured, although doubt flickered in his mind. But how could he keep that promise? Just then, he noticed a shadow flit between the trees. A chill ran down his spine. What if the shadows from their past were not so far away after all? Would Jack's promise mean anything when confronted with the ghosts lurking just out of sight? The picnic blanket felt like a small oasis in the park, a moment of peace amidst the whispers of uncertainty. Jack pushed aside the fluttering leaves, forcing himself to focus on Emma and Lily before him. As Emma's gaze drifted away from him, his thoughts raced. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching, waiting. Lily continued to chatter away, her laughter bubbling like a brook at spring thaw. Yet Emma was quieter now, her smile dimming as she peered past the trees, searching for something, maybe someone. "Hey, do you want to play frisbee?" Jack suggested, hoping the movement would spark some energy back into Emma. Lily jumped at the chance, darting to retrieve the frisbee Jack had packed. But Emma remained seated, her small fingers tracing patterns in the grass. He frowned, kneeling beside her. "You okay?" She hesitated, glancing around before answering. What if they find us?" The shadows loomed larger in Jack's mind. "Who?" he asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "The people from before," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "The ones who took us away." Jack felt his heart drop. The moment her words left her lips, he could see the fear in her eyes, like a candle struggling against the wind. "Emma, you don't have to be scared anymore. You're safe with me," he said, even as he questioned if he could keep that promise. They say that, she replied fiercely. But he nodded knowingly. It's not always easy to trust someone who seems too good to be true. Emma lowered her head, voice trembling. What if you just feel sorry for us? Jack shook his head. No, I really want to be here for you and Lily. It's different with you too. I am trying to understand what you've been through. Their moment was interrupted when Lily returned, drenched in enthusiasm, frisbee in hand. Come on, Emma. Let us throw. She didn't notice the tension hanging over them. Jack took the frisbee from Lily and tossed it into the air. Here we go. For a second, a smile broke through Emma's worry as she reached for the frisbee. But Jack could still see shadows cast over her eyes. They played for a while, Lily's laughter echoing. But Emma kept glancing at the trees, her focus torn between the moment and whatever troubling thoughts lingered behind those trunks. After a few rounds, Lily flopped down on the blanket, her breath heavy from running. I'm tired, she declared, grinning from ear to ear. Jack laid down beside her, trying to soak up the innocence of the moment, of joy. He glanced at Emma, who remained on guard. No matter how perfect this scene felt, there was still a weight that wouldn't lift, like storm clouds refusing to disperse. Do you like it here? He asked Emma softly, hoping to coax her further from her worries. She studied him, those wise eyes searching for something. Like this, yes. But will it stay? Jack sat up, propping his elbows on his knees, staring into her earnest face. You're part of my family now. We'll find a way to make it safe, I promise. Just then, he noticed the same shadow flicker again near the tree line. His heart raced. There, someone was definitely watching. Emma, can you stay close? He said, his tone shifting to serious. He felt a protective instinct kick in, and he couldn't ignore it anymore. Lily giggled, oblivious, but Emma nodded, her expression growing serious. Then, just as Jack felt the knot in his stomach tighten, he saw a figure emerge from behind the trees. A sense of dread cascaded over him like icy water. What if they've come for us? Emma gasped, her voice barely above a whisper now, those brave little hands once again clutching tight to Lily's. Jack stood, heart pounding, as he turned to face the figure, ready to defend the girls. He couldn't afford for the past to reach them like this. But who was it? What did they want? He inhaled deeply, resolving to protect what had become so precious to him. The time for truth had arrived. But before he could reach out, the figure stepped closer, revealing a familiar face, one that left him paralyzed with a mix of dread and confusion. Jack, they called, their voice echoing in a way that sent chills down his spine. We need to talk. Jack's world was spiraling into chaos, and he wasn't sure what would happen next. He had to know what secrets lay buried in the shadows of their past. Jack's mind raced as he stared at the figure emerging from the shadows. It was a face he hadn't seen in years, someone from a time he had fought to leave behind. Tears of confusion threatened to spill, and for a moment, he was thrown back into a memory he thought was long buried. Is it really you? Jack whispered, his heart pounding in his chest, instinctively scanning the area for Emma and Lily's safety. The freckles scattered across the familiar face, the warm brown hair, and the anxious gaze pierced his defenses. Jack the figure stepped closer, a wave of apprehension washing over him. I've been looking for you. Why now? Jack's voice was strained as he kept one eye on Emma, who had pulled Lily protectively to her side. Fear etched across her features. Emma's small hands trembled, and Jack could see the shadows creeping back into her eyes. He had promised her safety, but standing here, with this ghost from his past before him, the promise felt fragile. I need to explain. It's about the girls, the figure said, urgency lacing their tone. They're in danger. There are things you don't know. Jack's stomach tightened. What are you talking about? The distance between them felt electric, a connection pulling him toward a past he didn't want to revisit. Before the figure could respond, Jack stepped between them and the girls. What danger? Who wants them? People who should never have found out about them. The figure replied, eyes darting nervously toward Emma and Lily, who were silent now, sensing tension in the air. Jack swallowed hard, remembering how he fought to get away from his own past. He couldn't let it come chasing after his future, especially not for Emma and Lily. You don't get to just waltz in here and drop bombs without giving me answers, he said, frustration bubbling under the surface. What do you know? The figure hesitated, glancing over their shoulder as if expecting someone to appear from the trees. You need to trust me. I thought I could keep you safe from all of this, but things changed. Trust you? Jack's voice grew louder, his protective instincts roaring to life. You disappeared. You were supposed to be Jack. I had no choice. They were closing in, and I had to protect you. The figure's voice cracked, desperation spilling out. A knot of emotion tied Jack's throat. He tightened his fists, unwilling to let this person's words pull him under. But all at once, his fear for Emma and Lily twisted with a deep-seated anger fueled by betrayal. My life is not your game anymore. The figure took a step closer, lowering their voice. Please, we don't have much time. If you don't listen, you could lose everything. Those girls, the life you've built, they're not safe. Jack's heart raced, conflicting emotions warring inside him. Emma watched intently, her small voice breaking the hush that surrounded them. Jack? Who is that? The warmth of her trust broke through his defenses, and Jack found himself torn. Could he risk everything he had fought for the sake of someone who had caused him so much pain? The figure turned their gaze to Emma, expression softening. I promise I want to help. But there are secrets out there. Dark ones. Jack's chest tightened as he bent down to Emma. Stay close, all right? I need you and Lily to trust me, no matter what happens. Okay. Her voice was small, but he could see the understanding settle in her eyes. With a heavy sigh, Jack stood straight, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. He had to confront his past, for their sakes. Fine, we'll talk. But if you're lying, I'm not, the figure insisted, urgency painting their features. The truth is far worse than you can imagine. As dread settled in his stomach, Jack also felt a flicker of determination. Whatever was coming, he would face it head-on. With Emma and Lily beside him, he wouldn't back down. But would confronting the past be the key to securing their future, or would it tear them apart? The sun dipped lower in the sky, shadows growing longer. Jack felt the chilling grip of the unknown tightening around them. What is coming? He asked, his voice steady but filled with tremors of fear. You can't say here. A new wave of urgency washed over Jack. Secrets and darkness loomed closer, but so did the vast possibility of light. What choice would he make when the truth was laid bare? Jack braced himself as the figure's words hung in the air. The tension tightened like a noose around them, twisting with uncertainty and fear. He glanced at Emma and Lily, who clung together like two small birds ready to take flight. He felt their trust firmly anchoring him, and yet the weight of his past crept along his spine like a winter chill. Then where do we go? Jack asked, his throat dry. He needed answers, but the shadows of doubt danced in his mind. Could he really count on the past to guide their future? Follow me, the figure said, urgency lacing their tone. There's a place nearby, somewhere safer. Who are you? Jack demanded, a million memories flooding back to the forefront of his mind. Why should I believe you? I'm your sister, came the stark reply. Jack felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. He had grown up alone, with no idea of a sibling. Each word struck like a hammer against an anvil, shaping his understanding of the world he thought he knew. You're lying, Jack stammered, shock coursing through him. There's no way. I would be known. I thought I was protecting you, she implored, stepping a bit closer, the desperation in her eyes palpable. I didn't want you to live in fear like I did. A flood of emotions crashed down on Jack. Betrayal, confusion, and a flicker of hope. He looked deeply into her eyes, searching for some semblance of truth. If this is true, if you really are my sister, why now? What has changed? The figure drew in a sharp breath, glancing behind her once more. They've found out about the girls. I don't know how, but they know they exist. I've seen things, terrible things that can't happen again. Jack shook his head, trying to clear the whirlwind of thoughts. The danger lurked, looming like dark clouds against the horizon. He couldn't let that darkness touch Emma and Lily. Okay, he finally said, steeling himself. Lead the way. But know this, if you're tricking me, I won't hesitate to take my girls away. The figure nodded, understanding the ferocity of his protective instincts. Together, they moved deeper into the park, navigating around trees that formed shadows in the fading light. Emma held Lily's hand tightly, glancing up at Jack, who felt the enormity of the moment. He had fought so hard to build a safe life for them, and yet here he was, drawn back into a past he had fought to escape. As they walked, the figure began to share snippets of her life, a life filled with secrets, survival, and choices made out of fear. Jack felt the threads of their shared history weaving together, but he was aware that it came at a cost. What do you want from me? He pressed, trying to untangle the mess of emotions swelling inside. I want to help, she replied, her voice trembling. The girls are more important than you realize. They're connected to something much bigger than both of us. Jack's heart began to race. The girls were his world. What do you mean bigger? What are you talking about? I can't say now. Just trust me. We need to move quickly, she urged, glancing over her shoulder again. They might already be onto us. As they reached a secluded area, Jack felt a rush of adrenaline. Was he putting his family at risk by pursuing this tangled web of secrets, or was it a necessary step to protect them? He looked at Emma, whose innocent eyes gleamed in the fading light, still trusting him. Whatever comes, we'll handle it together, he reassured her. But would he be able to keep that promise as the dark truths of his past again came to light? In that moment, a rustling nearby caught their attention. Jack's instincts flared. What was that? He whispered, every muscle tensed for action. And then, out of the bushes, shadows moved. Get back, Jack shouted, stepping in front of the girls, ready to confront whatever emerged. What were they about to face? Could he stand strong against the past for the sake of his daughters? Jack instinctively crouched low, shielding Emma and Lily behind him as the rustling continued. Shapes emerged from the shadows, clumsy and unsure. As the light sunk lower, revealing their forms, Jack's tension eased slightly. It was a couple of teenagers, dressed in hoodies and jeans, their faces etched with confusion rather than malicious intent. Whoa, we didn't mean to scare you, one of the boys said, raising his hands slowly. We thought you were, someone else. Someone else? Jack narrowed his eyes, still wary. Who? The kids exchanged nervous glances, the weight of Jack's glare seeming to push them closer together. Look, we just came here to hang out, the girl piped up. This is our spot. We didn't know anyone was around. Jack's heart began to settle as his thoughts shifted back to Emma and Lily. He turned slightly to gauge their reactions. Emma was still clutching Lily's hand, her eyes wide with apprehension. Jack wanted to soothe her fears, but the shadows of worry about their safety still loomed large in his mind. You should leave, Jack said firmly, maintaining a protective stance. This isn't a safe place to linger. There was an edge of urgency in his voice that the teens didn't miss. He could see the flicker of understanding in their eyes as they processed his seriousness. All right, we'll go. The boy shrugged, his voice suddenly meek. They turned as if sensing the gravity in Jack's tone, fading back into the trees. With the immediate threat gone, Jack turned back to the girls. It's okay. You're safe, he whispered, trying to keep his voice steady even as his stomach churned with worry. Emma nodded slowly, but he could tell the fear still lingered in her eyes. Daddy, why did that woman say she's your sister? Lily's small voice punctured the silence, the weight of the question striking Jack like a bolt of lightning. He took a deep breath, glancing at the figure who claimed to be his sister. She stood waiting, dark shadows painting her features, her expression a mix of concern and regret. That's complicated, sweetheart, he replied, crouching down to meet Lily's gaze. But what matters is that she's here to help us. I promise I'll explain everything as soon as it's safe. Can we trust her? Emma asked, her small voice trembling. Jack's heart sank. Trust. It was a fragile word, one he had held onto tightly since the shadows of his past had draped themselves over his life. I don't know yet, Em. But we don't have a choice right now. He hated that they were in such a position, unsure and vulnerable. But he couldn't show fear. He had to be their rock. The figure dismissed the question with a wave of her hand, shifting her attention to the path ahead. We should go before they come back and before I say too much. There's a safe place nearby. Where? Jack asked, brow furrowing. How do we know it's safe? Because I will not let anything happen to you or the girls. I swear it, she said, her voice harsh but steady, her reflection of confidence tempered by the fear Jack saw flashing in her eyes. Let us hurry, then, Jack decided. He led the way, heart pounding as they moved deeper into the shadows of the park. Despite his resolve, uncertainty gnawed at him. Could he trust this woman? This sister he never knew existed? He glanced back at Emma and Lily, their little faces illuminated by the fading light, his daughters' lives intertwined in a dangerous dance he could barely fathom. The world around them felt perilous, like a staircase without railings, one wrong step leading to darkness. In that moment of hurried escape, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of being hunted. Every sound amplified, every rustle of leaves a reminder of the darkness stalking them. Jack, the woman's voice broke through his thoughts. We're almost there, just a little farther. As they approached what appeared to be an abandoned park shelter, a quiet voice within him called for a halt. What if I'm leading them into a trap? And then he turned at the sound of footsteps following them, the unmistakable tension creeping back. The shadows were shifting again. And deep down, Jack understood that the chase was far from over. Are we being followed? He whispered urgently, eyes darting around. The tension snapped like a tight wire ready to break. What was closing in on them? Jack's breath caught in his throat as he peered into the encroaching darkness. The rhythmic crunch of twigs and the rustling of leaves sent a chill racing down his spine. He couldn't shake the weight of dread nesting in his gut. They had just escaped one danger. Had they unwittingly stepped into another? Stay close, he instructed Emma and Lily, nudging them forward, his heart racing as he clenched his fists. Every instinct warned him to protect them, but the sound of footsteps pressed heavier against his mind. It felt like a storm brewing, ready to break. The woman, his sister, stepped forward hesitantly. I can handle this, she said, her tone attempting to project confidence. But Jack still registered the flicker of worry in her eyes. Handle what? Jack shot back, his voice barely above a whisper, strained and sharp. You've brought us here. If it's not safe, this way, she insisted, darting towards the dim shelter that stood like a lone fortress in the woods. Jack hesitated for just a moment, torn between the vulnerability of his children and the alarming thought of the unseen pursuers. Now, she urged, panic seeping into her voice. Without waiting for a response, she and Jack ushered Emma and Lily inside. The smell of damp wood and stale air filled the small space, the dark corners whispering of neglect. They huddled close, hearts pounding. Jack's eyes scanned the shadows, his pulse reverberating in his ears. The world outside felt primal, each noise an echo of threats he couldn't name. They can't find us here, his sister insisted while peering out the gaps between the rotting wood, her silhouette momentarily illuminated by flashes of light filtering through the trees. Can't find us? Who's following us? Jack pressed, his voice low and demanding as he scanned her face for any trace of a lie. She bit her lower lip, glancing nervously at the girls. It's complicated. Complicated? Jack snapped, frustration boiling over. We don't have time for vague answers. If it's really just you and us now, I need to know why we're in danger. They're looking for me. It's my past catching up, she admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. And if they find me, they'll come for you too. Jack's heart sank. Why didn't you ever reach out? Why show up now? I thought I could keep you safe. I thought. She paused, struggled, then pressed on. I thought I could run away from mistakes that haunt me. I didn't want to drag anyone into my darkness. Silence thickened around them, punctuated only by the sounds of the forest. Emma and Lily were pressed against Jack, their small frames trembling slightly. Jack's mind raced. The picture of safety he had painted for his daughters was threatening to shatter. Is there any way to stop this? To make sure we're safe? His voice was steadier now, but uncertainty crept in. His sister hesitated, chewing on her lip once more. The best thing we can do right now is wait it out. They may not have seen where we went. Jack looked into her eyes, searching for assurance. What if they find us? Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the sound of footsteps quickly approached again. This time more deliberate, more ominous. Jack's heart dropped as he realized they were being hunted not just by shadows but by very real threats. Get back, he hissed, pulling the girls closer to him. A jolt of realization flooded Jack's mind. He needed to protect them, but how far would he have to go? Would he have to confront his mysterious past in order to save his daughters? Jack, listen, his sister started, but he cut her off. The door rattled. Someone was trying to get in. Be quiet, he said, heart pounding like a drum. The shadows outside deepened, closing in, and Jack's thoughts were a chaotic mess of fear and instinct. He gripped his daughters tighter, a steely resolve forming inside him. Whatever it took, whatever it meant, he wouldn't let the darkness take them. Then, a voice drifted through the door, low and menacing. I know you're in there. Jack's heart raced. What awaited them on the other side? Jack's heartbeat echoed loudly in his ears, drowning out the ominous voice outside. I know you're in there. The words slithered through the darkness, thick with menace. He exchanged a glance with his sister, whose face had paled, eyes brimming with fear. Who is that? Emma whispered, a tremor in her voice, her little hands gripping Jack's shirt tightly. Jack bit back a surge of panic. Just keep quiet, girls. His own voice felt foreign, strained under the weight of impending doom. He could almost feel the sinister presence pressing against the door, an unseen predator waiting to pounce. What do we do? Lily asked, her innocent eyes wide with fear. His mind raced. They had no way of fighting back. Confrontation wasn't an option. But neither was hiding. He had fought for their safety before, and now was no different. We wait just a little bit longer, he managed, though the words felt hollow even to him. Another shove against the door made it creak ominously, deepening the chill in Jack's spine. He wanted to scream at whoever it was to go away, to leave them alone. Instead, he held his breath, listening to every furtive noise in the dark. Jack, his sister's whisper broke through his thoughts, shaky but determined. He'll know we're here if we don't get out of sight. Out of sight where? He snapped, his frustration spilling over. He wasn't mad at her. It was the helplessness gnawing at him. Too many questions flooded his mind. Who was after them? Why was he here, and why had she dragged them into this? I don't know. She almost whimpered, terrified. But if they find us, it won't end well. The door rattled again. Jack held his breath, eyes darting toward the door as the presence outside continued to taunt them. He could almost feel the hatred radiating from the other side. Show yourself, the voice demanded, now tinged with impatience. I know you're frightened, but it doesn't have to turn ugly. Just come out and we can talk. Jack clenched his teeth, forcing himself to breathe. Talk? He muttered. What do they want to talk about? He remembered the nights spent keeping secrets, how they had woven a false sense of security. I won't give up my kids, he murmured, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, he felt resolute. The urge to protect them surged within him, breaking free from the paralyzing fear. We're not talking to anyone, he said, loud enough for his sister to hear but hindering its echo. We'll find another way out. Jack, wait, but he cut her off again, thoughts racing. We can't stick around for this. If you've made enemies, I told you, she interrupted, a fierce light igniting in her eyes. It's my past, my mistakes. If we leave now, they'll follow. You can't let them drag you in. Then we fight, he declared, determination boiling over. The door shook violently, with splintering from the force of the blow. Jack recoiled, the sound deafening. He pulled the girls closer. Get ready, whatever happens, he said, steeling his resolve. Before his sister could answer, the door shattered, sending pieces of wood flying through the air, swirling like autumn leaves caught in a storm. Jack stood up straight, adrenaline surging through him. The figure emerged from the darkness, shadows clinging to him like a shroud, revealing the outline of a man. A calm, healing presence felt at the forefront of the chaos stirred in Jack, even as the man's voice dripped with disdain. "Why don't you stop hiding?" he snarled, glaring into the dimness. "It'll only get worse from here." As the reality of their situation crashed over him, Jack took a breath. He had to act and fast. "Run!" he shouted, suddenly pushing his daughters behind him. It was now or never. In that moment, he realized he wasn't just protecting his family. He was ready to rewrite their future. But could he outrun the nightmares lurking in the shadows? With a surge of adrenaline, he dashed towards the broken door, fierce determination etched across his face. What monsters were waiting for him outside, and would he really be able to choose between his sister and the safety of his daughters? Jack burst through the shattered door, his heart racing. The cold air rushed at him, biting at his skin, but he couldn't let himself focus on the chill. He turned to glance back, hoping to see Emma and the girls close behind him. The view was alarming. They were frozen, wide-eyed, as the figure lunged forward through the wreckage of the door. "Go!" Jack commanded, urgency cutting through his voice. The others snapped out of their trance, and he watched as Emma pulled the girls towards the woods at the edge of the clearing. "Where are we even going?" Lily yelled, fear bubbling through her voice. "Anywhere but here." Jack shot back, adrenaline pushing him forward. His legs pumped, nearly stumbling as he raced across the grass. He heard the crunch of twigs and leaves behind him. The intruder was following them, relentless and close. The trees loomed ahead, their branches swaying like skeletal hands reaching for them. Jack darted towards the underbrush, glancing back for just a moment. He could see the man now fully in the light, dark eyes fixated on them like a wolf stalking its prey. "Keep moving," Jack yelled, pausing only long enough to ensure the girls were behind him. Their little faces reflected both terror and determination, sparking a protective fire in his chest. There was no time to doubt, only instinct guiding his feet. Emma stumbled but regained her balance, gripping Lily's hand tightly as they dashed deeper into the shadows of the trees. The thick foliage enveloped them, and the world around him transformed into a tangled maze of branches and underbrush. They ran on, breathless, Jack's mind racing. He was torn between instinctual panic and flashes of hope that they might actually escape. An image flashed through his mind. Their cozy living room, the warmth of family dinners, and laughter echoing throughout, fueled him. He wouldn't let fear strip that away. Then a shout shattered the silence. "You can't run forever." The voice echoed, taut with menace, causing Jack's heart to stumble. "Faster," he urged, desperation threading through his tone. They had to find somewhere to hide, somewhere the man couldn't reach them. The trees thinned a bit ahead, and he could see a clearing with a small cabin at the edge of the forest. "Over there," he pointed, his voice barely above a whisper. They could slip inside and barricade the door. It was a gamble, but it might just give them the few moments they needed to regroup, to think. "Jack!" Emma exclaimed, the tremor in her voice cutting through him. "What if he finds us in there?" "He won't," Jack lied, forcing confidence into his words. "Just stay close." They approached the cabin, the door slightly ajar, creaking as if beckoning them inside. He pushed it wider with a shove and ushered the girls in first. They tumbled inside, fear and uncertainty marring their expressions. But Jack stayed vigilant, scanning the trees for any sign of their pursuer. Just as he stepped in and turned to secure the door, he heard the crunch of leaves underfoot. The man's figure loomed at the edge of the clearing, just beyond the shadows. Jack's gut twisted with fear, adrenaline coursing through him like wildfire. "Jack, what do we do?" Emma's voice quivered behind him. "Shoo," he whispered, gesturing for silence. They would wait. He could sense the tension creeping into the air, thick and stifling. He knew any sound could give their position away. As the footsteps approached, Jack's heart drummed in his ears. He glanced at Emma and Lily, their wide eyes reflecting the same fear that gripped his own heart. The distant rustle of the underbrush drowned out his thoughts. The intruder was coming closer, and soon he would know they were there. Jack squeezed the girl's shoulders in a gesture of reassurance, though the quivering in his own hands betrayed him. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "remember that I will always protect you." Just then, the crack of a twig echoed loudly. Jack held his breath. Was he ready to face this nightmare? And what hidden truths would this encounter unravel? Outside, the man stopped, seemingly sniffing the air. "I can smell you, you can't hide forever." Jack's chest tightened. He glanced at his daughters, bracing himself for what was coming. The shadows creeping closer. What was this figure truly after? And would confronting him reveal more than just their location? Jack felt the weight of fear press upon his chest like a heavy shroud. The cabin seemed to shrink around him as he peered through the narrow slit of the door, catching glimpses of the man outside. The last light of day was fading, and with it, the warmth of safety that had surrounded them. "What do we do?" Emma whispered again, her eyes as wide as saucers, filled with a mix of terror and longing for reassurance. "We trust each other," Jack replied, forcing a steadiness into his voice he did not quite feel. They were family now, and family meant protection, love, and fighting together against whatever storm approached. He tightened his grip on the girl's little shoulders. The air around them was thick with tension as the dark figure stepped forward, closer to their hiding place. Jack's pulse raced. What did they want? Why target them? "Listen to me, Jack," the figure demanded, now standing mere feet from the cabin. "You can either make this easy or we can turn this into a nightmare." Jack's heart dropped. "I won't let you hurt them," he shouted, stepping in front of the girls as if his body could somehow shield them from whatever darkness loomed outside. "Jack, please." His sister, watching helplessly, had a fire in her eyes. "Just listen to him." "Listen? To what?" "He is the threat." Jack spat, feeling the rush of adrenaline sharpen his senses. Every fiber in him was coiled for attack. He had to protect his girls. That was all that mattered. "Jack, there's so much at stake." The man's voice did not waver, but urgency tinged it. "If you don't cooperate, you'll lose everything." "Lose what?" Jack snapped. "Everything was taken from me once. I'm not letting it happen again." The words echoed heavy in the still air, slicing through the tension, exposing fears that lingered beneath every heartbeat. He felt Emma's small hand shaking in his grip, and his heart ached for her innocence. No child should bear the weight of such darkness. From behind them, Lily whimpered softly, "Jack, I don't want to lose you." The sting of her words hit him harder than any threat. He glanced at Emma, who was watching him intently, her small frame trembling. Jack took a deep breath, the protective instinct surging through him like wildfire. "I will keep you safe," he vowed, voice steadying. Suddenly, the door creaked ominously behind him. Jack turned to see Emma and Lily's eyes wide, terror and trust mingling in their stares. He let out a breath, his resolve deepening. "To hell with your threats," he shouted back at the man outside. "You want something? You need to speak to me, not to my daughters." A silence fell, filled with apprehension. Jack felt his sister's eyes on him, full of unspoken caution. "If you don't leave now, we're going to fight." Jack continued, the fire in his tone igniting something fierce within him. "Very well, Jack," the man said slowly, as if weighing his words. "But understand this, your sister is in deeper trouble than you know. They will come after you if you don't take this seriously. They're not done with her, and they won't stop until they get what they want. Then we'll face them together," Jack replied sharply, determination fueling his next choice. He would not let them throw shadows over his daughter's light. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught his eye from the corner of the door. Jack turned, and without thinking, he moved in front of the girls. Almost instinctively, he reached for the handle and swung the door open, bracing himself against whatever awaited him. In the dimming light, he found himself face to face with the figure. It was still hard to read him. A mixture of threat and plea lingered in the air. Jack's sister stood behind him, pulse quickening as she felt the tension rise again. "Join me," the figure said, eyes now pleading, revealing a vulnerability that jarred Jack's senses. Join me in unraveling this mess. The only way we reclaim safety and reveal the truth is together. But time is of the essence. Jack's heart raced, swirling in a whirlwind of instincts and emotions. He knew he had to protect Emma and Lily, but he was aware there was much more at stake. Fine, Jack bit out finally, surprising even himself. Fine, I'll listen. But if you threaten my daughters, I swear, I won't hesitate to end this. In that instant he made a choice. Acknowledge the fear but choose the path of courage. With one foot in the light and one in the shadows, he would create a new path for them. Jack gestured for Emma and Lily to stay back as he stepped cautiously into the open space. To protect them, we face this together. The man nodded slowly, understanding the resolve that burned brightly in Jack's eyes. Together they would meet the encroaching darkness head-on, navigate the tangled web of secrets, and embrace the fight for their future. As they stepped deeper into the night, Jack turned back to his girls one last time. No matter what happens, he said, voice wrapped in warmth and hope, we are a family. We will fight together and never be alone again. With hearts entwined and hands clasped, they determined to take on whatever lay ahead. Fear may have lingered in the shadows, but love shone brightly as their guiding light through uncharted territory. And together, they would forge a path toward safety and truth. Now the journey truly began. This was their moment to rise. Don't wait another second to join this adventure. You need to subscribe to the channel immediately and witness all the exclusive stories coming up next. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear from you. Leave your comments below, sharing your reactions and feelings about this emotional roller coaster of an ending. And let us spread this journey. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this transformation with us. This is the moment to show your support. Remember, only true fans understand just how important it is to back the channel.